Hello guys, it's Two Latin Brothers Podcast, also known as T.L.B.P. I'm Victor.
And I'm Adrian.
And I always don't know what episode it is. Always.
This is episode 51.
Oh yeah, this is episode 51. That makes sense. We have one more week left.
Yes, we're coming down to a full year of doing this.
Yeah.
So much consistency.
I know.
And it's so much uncoordinated effort.
I know.
It's
amazing. It's great.
Okay, anyway, I'm going to jump on. Okay, so last week we were supposed to have a guest, but we didn't. So this week we're having a guest.
Yeah.
It is what it is. So this week I brought the guest. Yeah. You can say hi. Hi. Just hi? Hi. Okay.
Not going to introduce yourself, be like, hey,
this is who I am.
Hi guys, my name is Sudesh, and thank you guys for inviting me.
Oh, you're welcome.
You're welcome.
So
what's so polite? We don't have polite people. You should bring more people like this.
We've had people on, so we've had people on who, literally will be, introing. They'll just cut us off.
And
they'll be like, I'm the guy. And we're like, oh, okay. Well, now we know what kind of person you are.
Yeah.
But no, so, real quick. So, for those who are listening for the first time, when we have a guest on, either me, I or my brother Victor will bring a guest. Whichever person brings the guest, the other brother has to ask that person questions. It's a way for him to get to know my friends better and people in my life. Yeah. And also for a way for, I guess, more awareness of certain things that happen in our day-to-day life that we don't really talk about when we're just ranting to ourselves, that people find really funny for whatever reason. Yeah. But that is what it is.
We are a comedy podcast.
We're changing that. That's not going to be the same.
Yeah.
But that's really is what it is. So you have the floor, Victor. First question, go.
Okay, whoa. What are your hobbies? What are your interests? What do you like to do in your spare time?
My first initial hobby since my childhood is dance. I've been dancing since I was kid, since I remember. So right now I also teach dance in my community. So trying to share my hobbies with other and try to teach other, share my experience.
Oh, yeah, that's cool. What kind of dance do you?
Yeah, I do Bollywood and traditional Nepali dance. And as I said before, I've been dancing since childhood, and whenever there's music, I just start.
I've seen it. Real quick, I guess we should explain how we met. So
for sure.
Yeah, so
that was my third question.
I know that's why I'm cutting you off, because I knew it's unoriginal. Get a new question. So real quick, we'll call it an internship because some people don't know what it is. It's internship, placement, co-op. It has a million names all over the world for it.
Yeah.
It's just a practicum for us to get experience kind of thing. He's in university, I'm in college. We met at this immigration center. Let's call it that, because I don't know if we're allowed to even say what it is. We work at this immigration. We work in parentheses in an immigration center because we don't get paid for it, so we don't actually work. They treat us like we work. But we met there. But it's really interesting. From the moment we met, we really hit it off. And our supervisor, she's always telling me how she's like, I like how you're always sharing information with them. She's like, by far, no one does that. No one does that. She's like, all of you are when they come in, she's like, you're all here to try to get a job. It's like, so no one shares information. And then you two come in, you're like, yeah, I told them already. Or, it's like, yeah, I told them already. Filled them in all. She's like, what are you guys doing?
It's like, you guys are doing it wrong.
Yeah, it's really funny. It's always interesting. But you do a lot of work. Well, that's how we met, right? But he does a lot of work on his own time with his community, which I really, really admire. The work ethic you put into it.
Right.
Because, there is just so much that you do. I don't even know how you... So, you're a university student. You're also doing that. And you also help your community. And I'm over here lying on my couch Friday night doing absolutely nothing, watching TV. I'm like, I'm exhausted. I can't do this anymore. Yeah. So, a brief rundown of what it is you do exactly for your community.
Yeah, as I mentioned before, my background is I was born in a refugee camp. And came to Canada as a refugee. So there's a community in Canada, a lot of, a Bhutanese community. So they were Bhutanese refugee living in Nepal. And there's a community in Canada. So I started volunteering since I was in high school. I started teaching dance or doing volunteering, working with youth, organizing events like that. And eventually I started volunteering more and getting involved in the community. So right now I'm one of the board member of the community. So just trying to, help these refugees to integrate and share my experience because I can relate with them, right?
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
So he teaches a lot of settlement work, unofficial settlement work.
Yeah. Basically, our community is really closed, because we share this similar kind of experience back in refugee camp. Once we immigrated here, we try to find sense of belonging in Canada. So when we see other refugees and we connect with them quickly. And then, so we support from settlement to individual and organizing events, running some programming. Other than dance, I run a soccer drop-in for refugee youth so they can come play soccer, have fun. There's actually football back home, but now here's soccer.
We have the same problem.
We have the same problem.
No one knows what we're talking about.
And I'm also really engaged in organizing a cultural program once a year in the community. That's where, my dance class student will showcase their talents, perform in front of huge crowd.
Wow.
So, and everybody look forward to it.
That's good.
Well, you talked a lot about settlement, and my brother informed me that you had an interesting process of getting to Canada. So how was your process of getting into Canada?
Yeah, as I mentioned before, I was born and lived in refugee camp for 16 years of my life.
My entire life.
Yeah, and
That's literally how old he is.
Yeah, and when we got this opportunity to immigrate to Canada, we just took it because we had no option and we didn't know a lot of things about it. I always say this refugee camp was a different world for me. It was the only thing that I knew. And coming to Canada was a huge change, And my parents had to take a lot of initiative and a lot of power, to take the decision to come to Canada that they have no idea.
Yeah.
The language is going to be different, the culture is different. They had no idea how they're going to live. But my parents took decision and we immigrated here. I was 16 and it's been going pretty good.
I can't complain. It's pretty good.
Yeah, so we were as a government assistant refugee and throughout now there has been a lot of support we're receiving.
I tell almost everybody I meet now. There's this guy I know working with this community that's just hands down by far the most genuine nice guy I've ever met. And just so you know, all good things, no bad things, I promise. But it's really interesting, especially when I meet with actually there are people who are, I guess, key figures that I know who help in that department when it comes to that in our sort of our
community,
our unknown community, our
community,
unfacilitated community,
just say our community.
It's
You're stretching.
Yeah, it's okay. Anyway, stop. I'm trying to put my thoughts together without stopping talking. Anyways, so our community, but it's really interesting, your approach to it. And I was actually when we went to that conference, because we went to a conference. There's someone I met from Toronto who works really closely with the Latin community because we're Latin, of course. Yeah. The title of our podcast. And he asked if we had that kind of service here in this area, and I told him no. And he's like, well, you should get on that. And my response was yeah, I probably should. I'm sure there's somewhat of a foundation already. We're all really somewhat or another, it's a small town.
Yeah.
where we all kind of know each other because we know each other. It's just, there's just one Spanish speaking person there. There's another one over there. I'm there. Yeah. Some way or another, we know of each other. Yeah. Through someone or somebody.
We're all intertwined and connected.
Yeah. But the level of closeness isn't what I see with your community. Your community is you guys coordinated, you guys we gotta get this done, this. It's just way more advanced than what we're doing. We're hey, how's it going? And that's it. Yeah. Then every now and then it's a call, hey, so I'm looking for it. We're okay, I know where to go to this place or whatever.
Yeah, part of it is when we try to settle down in Canada, try to integrate and start building our community, a lot of credit goes to the elders because we really value our elders in our culture. And the elders who immigrated here, they started talking to families, to youth about the importance of community organization. How we can run, how we can support each other. So I just saddle them and they have been a huge part of it. they have so many leadership and just following them.
It's like I'm just a follower. I don't actually know what's going on. No, I always find that so interesting, like especially from culture to culture, like the level of I don't know. I think here in Canada, mainly in Canada, there's not that much respect to the elderly. Like that's like a fairly big thing here. Like most people end up like in what's it called? I can't remember. Retirement homes. Yeah, my brain just just lagged. That's how cold it is today. But in our culture, for example, grandparents or whoever, they end up living with their children and they end up, dying at home because they end up taking care of them. Usually it has a lot to do with like economic, or if they're physically able to like not take care of themselves anymore. So like that plays a big key as well in it. So, but I find it here, like there's, like it's just none of that, like
it's just like, it's like, hey mom, I'm going to put you in this home now.
It's like,
and I'll visit you in a month or two.
There's a lot of culture shock for us too.
Yeah.
When a lot of refugees, when I experienced that within my family as well. When we really value the seniors, but here the process is a little bit different, right?
Yeah.
And the way we treat, when we're used to living in a family, like you can marry, but you live with your grandparents or family, right? Your parents. So it was a huge culture shock, and
like as soon as you turn 18, you become like unofficially, it's like there's the door.
Yeah.
There's the door. Just walk out. Go find the world. Go discover it on your own, and then you end up like in so much debt.
Yeah.
But like I think it's so interesting. Like in my case, I joke about this with you. I think I've told you already. I made this joke with you already. How our parents, they're very like rooted in their Lion culture. They're like, you guys don't have to leave until like you get married or whatever else. So I just turned and looked at Victor and I'm like, so I'm getting the house. You just gotta leave. You just gotta leave. I get the house. Everybody else has to get out. I'm like, this is out of mine. You all go find your own houses.
Yeah.
That's my current plan. Just gonna, but I think it's interesting, like the contrast of culture. But it's also interesting how some cultures are similar to each other, being like polar opposites of each other.
Yeah.
What was it? What was that thing you like shared with me the other day? I kept calling a taco. That wasn't a taco.
A roti.
A roti. So this is like this. No joke. It's like a taco, but it's not a taco. And then we started, and then everyone was like looking at me. They're like, you know what? They're probably the ones who invented it. To be honest, because they're like his culture's been around way longer than the Latin culture has been around. Yeah. And I had this whole moment of like, oh man, what are we doing?
Yeah, I really value the culture because back home, my identity is a little bit complicated because my ethnicity is from Nepal, but my nationality is Bhutan.
Yeah.
Right. So for generation, the Nepali ethnic people have been living in Bhutan, and my grandparents are from them. From them, and then in around 1990s they came to Nepal as a refugee. So they lived in refugee camp for 20 years, more than 20 years. And when I was born, I was Nepali ethnically, but my identity is Bhutanese. Yeah. But I don't have passport. I don't have citizenship.
Yeah.
I'm stateless.
Yeah.
So when I came to Canada,
yeah.
What do I call? I'm Nepali or Bhutanese?
Yeah.
Or what do I call myself, right? What do I identify? So that's how I pick up like, okay, what's my culture?
Yeah.
Culture is from Nepal, but we are living in southern Bhutan.
Yeah.
So right now, I really value this culture and try to educate the younger generation as well, who are born here, about our culture. So I, try to preserve our language and our cultural dance, or it is a language, or music. So through all this entertainment, we try to preserve our culture as well.
For sure,
because it's part of our identity.
For sure, yeah. And like, one of the bigger things that like youth born here experience is the culture at home and the culture outside.
Yeah,
you know what I mean? Because like at home, we're all Latino. We're all speaking Spanish. We're all get the salsa or whatever. Like get the tortillas. Like we're all like just Latin all the time. And then, but we walk outside. It's like, get me a fork. I'm not gonna do my hands, right? Go get me a fork, right? Yeah. So it's like this like level of you become this dual identity person. Right, you run one identity at home and you run the other one outside because it's just the way it is, right?
It's basically like switching environments throughout your life.
one of the things we have a big issue with is You noticed it when you got here. We switch between English and Spanish.
Yeah, constantly.
Frequently. So when we're doing the podcast, it's so hard when it's just us.
Yeah.
Because there's a lot of jokes that we'll make in Spanish and I'll have to edit it out because...
We understand.
like a few people will understand the joke, right? Like there are people who listen to us who are from Spanish-speaking countries, but it's not like... It's just a simple fact that the greater audience isn't going to be in on the joke, right?
Yeah.
So like there's that, but at the same time... Also, like, okay, so this is another thing, too. I'm just taking over all your questions.
Yeah.
This isn't even a question. It's just a statement.
Okay.
You're learning Spanish.
Yeah.
I want to know how that came about.
Yeah, so since I think 2009 something, I was into soccer, and then I started following FC Barcelona.
Of course.
This face is like, of course.
And back home, we were not that, we didn't have that facility of watching television, so we used to read newspaper, how did Messi score, how many goals he scored, what title Barcelona won. I started getting in love with them. I came to Canada, I started watching, and my dream is to go Barcelona, watch a game in Camp Nou.
Wow.
Right? And then I started saving money. In 2017, I was like, maybe 2018 I can go. And I don't want to get lost there. I want to learn a little bit of Spanish.
Yeah.
And I was in university. I took a Spanish course. I learned a little bit, to say hola, gracias, like that.
The
and then
basics.
and then finally I went to Barcelona to fulfill my dream. And they speak Catalan.
Yeah.
Right? I was lost again.
Yeah.
And this year, 2019, my friends like, okay, you went to Europe. We want to go Europe too. We want to visit different countries. Let's go. We made a plan again. And I was like, yeah, I got to take more Spanish now. Now, and where you want to, and they are like a big Madrid fan.
Yeah.
So I started taking another class, then another class. I really enjoy Spanish.
Yeah.
And it's also helping with me, in my work, talking with people. And that's how I connected with you.
Yeah.
Speak some Spanish.
I was like, well, when you spoke Spanish, I was like, whoa, what is going on, right? Like, it threw me off so much because
I kind of just want to switch the conversation to Spanish.
Well, no, it's more of like, not that I'm being biased or like I've never seen someone of Nepali descent speak the language, right? So
it's something unknown to us.
Yeah, it was a little odd at first, but like then I'm like, but he can do it, and he can do it fairly well. Like,
it's
wow.
amazing.
Yeah, it's really surprising, and it really caught me off guard the first couple of times, and I was like, I guess this is just the world I live in now. Like, where anyone can learn anything. And then I told you the story of, I think I've told the story on the podcast already, where me and a friend of mine, he was an international student from Argentina. We were talking on the bus, and there was this really good-looking lady, white lady, sitting like closer to the front of us, and like closer to the back of the bus, and he just starts talking in Spanish. But like the thing with Latino guys and describing people is there's no he's already laughing. There's no line that's drawn. Like it just keeps going. Like the level of escalation.
Like the compliments just escalate.
Yeah. Like and they get like fairly inappropriate, and then like 5 or 6 stops later, the lady starts wanting to words, and I was like, yo, stop talking. Like maybe she'll think we're like talking about it or whatever. And he's like, dude, she's white, she's not gonna understand us, like, And then she's about to get off the bus, and she turns and looks at us, and she goes, I have a master's in Spanish. And walks off the bus. But she said, I have a master's in Spanish, and got off the bus. And we're just like, oh no. And I was like, this is it. This is where I die. Take me now, God. Like, it was one of those ones where...
It's like, you messed up, bro.
I was 17, okay? Like, but, like, it's one of those things where it kind of wakes you up to the reality that we're in Canada. And Canada is, well, we've coined multiculturalism.
Yeah.
Right? So everyone has their own culture, but because we all have our own cultures as well,
we all know a little bit of everything.
Exactly. Like, so, like, you gotta be willing to try everything at this point.
Yeah.
Like, I was telling him when it comes to food, yo, man, if you guys have been eating it for thousands of years, if I'm gonna come and eat it and die because I ate, like, I mean, I don't think that's gonna happen.
Yeah.
Like, so that's kind of the mentality I have towards, like, especially trying new food, because people are, some people are like, oh, that smells weird, or it looks odd, or whatever, right? Like, they're unaware of it, but it's like, but you haven't even tried it yet.
Yeah.
And like,
how can you say you don't like it if you haven't tried
exactly.
it?
The other thing too is like, there are fairly, what was the word? There are a lot of like different flavorings that different cultures use.
Yeah.
Like things you've never tried before.
Like, for example, like in Mexico, we like we like a lot of spicy, you know, not so savory, and then you come to the Americas.
It's all salt and sugar.
It's also salt and sugar.
All salt and sugar.
Yeah.
It's just salt and sugar. Salt and sugar on everything and anything.
Yeah, I thought I was the only guy who eats spicy in our internship.
Yeah.
And then I met Adrian, and then I back off because he eats spicy.
But you know what? I actually don't eat that much spicy food. At home, I don't like, only if I go out to eat somewhere or like depending on what culture it is. But at home, I don't eat any spice at all because, and here's the reason why. A lot of people don't know this, but eating too much spicy food isn't that good for you. And in this house, how do I put it? They abuse it. Yeah. It's literally it. Like, it's like the level of spice needs to be drawn somewhere. And I'm the one like, nope, I'm not, no.
No, see, the thing is, eating it once a day
sure.
wouldn't be bad.
Oh, for sure.
And like, it's not like we're eating it every single moment.
I mean,
we have 2 people in the family. Not calling out, just saying we have 2 people in the family that would rather eat it breakfast, lunch, and dinner. Right.
Yeah, like,
and that's not good for your liver. Like, to be honest, like the only time I'll eat it is like, let's say my mom was the one to make a salsa. We didn't go buy it. You know, it was made at home. I saw what went into it. I saw the effort, the love and care that was put into the salsa. So I try it. Yeah. I don't like pour it all over.
Yeah. So like I try to like limit it because I've know like in our family there've been a lot of issues with like stomach issues because of too much spice. So I'm just like genetically, like I'm already predisposed. I want to live a long time. I don't want to die early. Like there's a lot of things I'd like to do, you know? So like, I'm just like, but like what the day we went to that Korean place, that was interesting.
Yeah. Korean.
Yeah.
Yeah. I love like,
yeah, it was good, but it was, that was interesting though. Yeah. Like that was more spicy than I thought it would be.
Oh.
You know what I mean? Like, it's most Korean food isn't that spicy.
Right. Yeah.
Like, I found that to be like a little too much, but like for Korean food anyway, I was like, whoa, this is new.
Yeah, but it's a different feeling, you know,
to
try food or to learn language. Learning language is beautiful.
Yeah, for sure.
I started learning different language. Now I speak 5-6 languages, and I want to learn more.
Yeah.
And the story that you mentioned before in the bus, that happens to me every time because I speak Hindi, Urdu, and people, they don't look at me and like, we speak Hindi, right? They don't. And then sometimes they will be speaking Hindi or Urdu, and I'll understand everything, and I'm just sitting there and like, oh, okay.
Yeah, it's really funny. Like a lot of people, like, because I go through like phases. I'll have like a really big beard sometimes. And a lot of people, because of my beard, think I'm Arab. And then I was telling you how, like, we're actually, like, of Arab descent. There's this whole, like, side story.
Very far down the line.
Very far down the line. Somewhere. Our last name's still there. Anyway. So, but what's interesting is that, like, a lot of people think I'm Arabic. So, like, the amount of times I've had an old Arab lady walk up to me and just straight up Arabic, I go, I'm not Arab. And they go, and their reaction is always, your parents not teach you? Like, that's just the reaction. And they're so mad. Like, they're just so mad, and I'm like, no, I'm Latino, and they go, what? They're just like, they're shocked.
They're just like, you lie.
They're like, what? And I was like, yeah, I'm like, I'm not, and it's really funny because the same thing has actually happened with me, but with Filipinos. Some people say I look Filipino. I don't know if that's true.
Oh, I get that a lot. Yeah.
Like, apparently, I look Filipino.
I just gotta smile.
The amount of times I've had people asking me for directions in like, what is it, Tagalog? I think it's Tagalog.
Yeah, I think
it's Tagalog. Is it Tagalog? I think it's Tagalog.
Don't quote him on that.
Yeah, don't quote me on that. But like the amount of times, and like they just flip. It's just like, no, like, how can your parents have not taught? Like, I'm not like just trying to explain to people that, like, because there's just so many cultures here. Like, and what I love about Canada is the fact that, like, you can go down. There's just one street you can go down and find a restaurant for like almost any kind of food you want. Yeah. You know what I'm talking about, right? That street. Yeah. Like, you can go find, there's what is it? There's Italian, Arab, Lebanese, Pakistani, Vietnamese, Korean, Indian, like, you name it, it's like, it's everything. They even have Ethiopian. There's an Ethiopian restaurant. There's like, and then like the amount of like fast food places too is like, it's absurd. Yeah. But it's just this like culture rich spot in this area that I just love going down, because like literally anything's game there, literally anything, and it shows like that it's possible for all these cultures to like work together, you know, without arguments or fighting or bickering or whatever it may be. But like I find that so, I guess, human.
Absolutely, yeah.
So Do you have any other?
I really don't. Oh wait. Okay. It's a small question. It's not. We're not gonna get that far into it. But what were the languages you spoke?
So I speak Nepali,
Yeah.
mother tongue, Hindi, Urdu, English, and now I can say I speak Spanish. And I'm learning Arabic. And whenever I find somebody, whenever I find somebody who speaks different language, I try to learn basic, having conversation. Other time, like I made a client in my placement and he speaks Farsi. And I was like, okay, teach me. so I was writing everything. So I love learning languages.
It's fun. I like learning languages too. Like right now, in school I'm taking Japanese.
Wow.
So that a lot of people are just like, whoa, it's like that's a tough language. But when you see the structure, it doesn't seem that complicated.
Right.
Yeah. So
Like, I think that's what it is. Like, every language has its... Apparently, the hardest language to learn on Earth is Icelandic. Icelandic apparently is the hardest one. Don't quote me on that. A few people have told me that's the hardest one because they do a lot of traveling. But...
Okay.
I mean, from their perspective, I mean, they've been to like every continent on Earth. I'm going to take their word for it.
Okay.
But it's one of those really interesting things. Language is actually our sister. She speaks English, French, Spanish, and she's picking up Portuguese, and she also wants to learn Italian. Right. So she's just covering like all the derivatives of Latin.
Because because if you learn, like, let's say you know English, you can learn French. No, if you know English, okay, you can learn German too. But that's going the Slavic direction. If you know English, you can learn French. If you know those two languages, you can learn Spanish.
Right.
If you know those languages, you can learn Portuguese. If you know those languages, you can learn Italian. If you know those languages, learn straight up Latin.
Like, it's just like, it just keeps compounding. I think it's so interesting. But the biggest issue we've run into currently, I think in our world now, is dialects. Oh. My goodness, there are so many dialects of every like from area, from accent to slang to like I was telling one of your friends that I met at the conference is from Mexico. I was telling you about northern Mexicans and southern Mexicans, two different people, two different people, like just like accent, like slang, like all just two different people. Like, it is night and day. But it's like, it's so interesting because like the southern part is influenced more by Central America because it's like right there, and the northern part is affected by the English speakers of the Americas.
Yeah, so they slide in a few English words as they talk.
Like, one of the big ones I've noticed is like everyone like now says, oh, whatever, in Spanish conversation.
Oh.
Yeah. Or they say, yeah, it's okay. We'll say okay in English. I'm like, what are you guys doing? It's like, but I think it's the integration of all like this, influences, right? Like, that's how it goes. I think it's so interesting. I could talk about this literally forever. Like, literally forever. There are so many things that I find so interesting, but one of the reasons I asked Sudesh to be here today, I can never, is it Sudesh or Sudesh? Sudesh. I like how you nailed it the first time, and I've like known him for like 4 months.
Look, I like learning languages too. I like exploring with my mouth.
Look, it's not my fault. I'm dyslexic, okay?
Yeah. That has nothing to do with it.
That has everything to do.
That has nothing to do with it. Because you're not reading.
Yeah, but like,
I got you there.
I mean, but when it comes to learning other lanlanguages, you kind of need to know how to read and write in order to say you can speak it.
But you have auditory learning.
Yeah, that's a whole other thing. A whole other thing. Supervisors are already taking advantage.
I got you there.
Our supervisors are already taking advantage of me from that.
Yeah.
It's one of those, I think it's, you came at like, as like a youth, I guess, as Victor's age. Yeah. Right? And I actually, this question is more for you than for him. I wanted him to hear your answer to this question. Okay. How would you feel going to an entirely new country where you didn't speak the language or anything? Lost. Being born here.
Being born here? Honestly, I feel like I'd be lost, but I feel like I could be welcomed easily because I've been exposed to so many different cultures that it wouldn't feel like I'm away from home. I feel like I would be able to like slide in there, like be totally confused, not understand what anybody's saying, but I know I'm not entirely lost because I've been exposed to multiple cultures. It wouldn't be such a big impact on me,
Right. Yeah.
That makes sense.
Like, right, it wouldn't be a shock. So like, one of the things I find interesting with his generation, especially his generation, is the level of inclusion. I was telling him that, well, I've told you already how when I was in high school, like I was like the only Latin person from Canada in the building, in the school, and wherever place it was. I was like the only Latino, like ever, usually. But it was also because like all the Latin kids go to Catholic schools because we're very, very deeply rooted Catholic for whatever reason.
Yeah,
like, and it's like I don't know. I'm not getting into that, but it's like this whole thing anyway. But I went to public school growing up, so I never had interaction with a lot of the Latin youth in Canada. So as I got older, I started meeting more Latin people, and I'm like, huh? And then they're like, yeah, I went to this school, and then that guy over there goes, I went to the same school. Like we used to hang all the time together when we were in school. It's like, huh? This is what I'm missing out on. All these interactions, I never had them.
Yeah, the interesting thing about what Victor said was, he was already exposed to a lot of culture here. So him being to different country, completely new country, for him it might be, whatever he expected.
Yeah, it wouldn't be an entire in a shock, like seeing a different culture. It wouldn't come as a shock to me because so I can meet like literally anybody. They become my friend and they have a totally different culture when I go over to their house.
Yeah,
Yeah,
for sure. Like, and it was totally different, like opposite to what he explained for me.
Exactly.
Like, as I mentioned before, that was a refugee camp was only thing that I knew. I wasn't exposed to other thing, and when I used to imagine what Canada would look like a lot of white people only, and I didn't know it's gonna snow here, and completely lost. I didn't know where the Canada is in the map.
But I know. But I mean, being from Nepal, you guys got lots of mountains. I'm sure you knew what snow was.
Yeah, no, I never saw snow in Nepal because the refugee camp was in the Tarai region, which means like non-mountainous region, and Nepal, the mountainous region is on the northern side. We were in the southern side, and I came as a 16 years old. So as a kid, I never been to Mount Everest.
Oh wow!
And a lot of people ask me, "Oh, you're from Nepal, so you've been to Mount Everest?" I'm like, "No."
Different story.
Yeah,
but what one of the things is that's interesting actually. A lot of people. Wait, what time did you get here? What season was it?
December.
Oh man! You came in.
So what was your first reaction seeing snow?
Yeah, so we were in Toronto airport, and we were welcomed by people from IRCC in Canada. The agent, they were like, "Okay, it's gonna snow a lot, so you gotta have." They gave us big, huge coat, raincoat, and like big boot, really like huge boot.
Yeah.
I was like, it's too big. And I was like, no, you gotta need this. And then we came to Canada. When we reached in Canada and we got outside, it's snowing. It just started snowing. It's so cold. And the jacket we brought from Nepal, it was not
good enough.
Not good enough. Yeah. And then a lot of people started coming to me and they started telling me the horror story of winter in Canada. And it was totally sucked for me. Well,
you're just like, why did I come here? Is it like this all the time?
We know a Salvadorian couple when they got here like 7 years ago. Right. The wife of the couple, she used to complain that her bones hurt because your body. Okay, so El Salvador is on the equator. So they don't know what snow is. Like it's like an abstract thought. They have mountains, but there's no snow. So the stories go like we spent Christmas on the beach, right? So that gives you an idea of like hot all year round. We don't do cold,
tropical.
And when they came here, I think it was like May or June sometime. They hadn't experienced winter yet, and then they get to December, and they're like, no, I'm going back home. This is crazy. I'm like, look, and then I'm like, but like the usual, like my reaction, that's like, oh, you'll get used to it. But I think I told you, I'm like, that's the biggest lie we tell each other. Yeah. Oh, you'll get used to. I mean, you become more tolerant to the cold. Yeah. Like it's not like, oh, it's like, like
a cold breeze in like, let's say El Salvador, right?
Yeah.
A cold breeze in El Salvador would be way different from a cold breeze here. Yeah. If I could probably go to El Salvador and they'd be like, it's freezing, aren't you gonna wear a jacket? And I'd be like, this isn't cold yet.
but you know how you've truly become Canadian? I think, in my opinion anyway, is when it's 10 degrees in winter. Like in the winter time, when it's 10 degrees. I walk outside, put a sweater on, like, oh, it's finally warm. But 10 degrees in the summertime, like, oh no, it's too cold. You gotta get like a jacket, a scarf, a hat. You're like, right, like the level.
It's because your body adapted to feeling that heat.
Exactly, right? But when it's cold, like every Canadian goes through this, your blood thickens in the cold because it has to keep you warm, right? So like, and by the time your body finally adjusts to the cold, summer shows up.
Yeah.
So then your blood thins again. And it's like this whole like process of like
there's ways of doing it faster.
Yeah.
But I don't recommend it because you have to go outside and you have to be in the cold doing physical activity.
That's too much work. But like I always think of like people who work outside, like people who are like cleaning the streets and stuff. Like
they
the snow
must get used to it quick.
Oh yeah, they must be like 3 weeks in. They're like, oh, I got this.
They're just
this
is
like a summer's day.
Construction workers.
Yeah, that too, right? Like it's something. It's also like so. Here's an interesting story. Our father got here in November, and he has pictures of himself playing with snow. Like his first experience, like I'll never get to live that, because like being born here,
you'll never, because you've just always known snow,
exactly,
right? So you'll never have that like experience. Well, like
for
this is snow.
Yeah, but like for our mom's family, like they know of snow because like they see it in the mountains.
Yeah, see the thing is they come when it's pretty.
I mean it's summertime. Who's not gonna come? Like I mean our summer is like 2 weeks, the last week of July and the first week of August.
Yeah.
That's our summer. Like those are the 2 good golden weeks where it's really, really nice. Like the consistency.
That's when family comes and visits.
You know what I mean? Like because those are like everything else in between is like
it's just like lukewarm.
Yeah, it's anything.
Or it's supposed to be warm and it's windy, so you don't get to really enjoy it.
Yeah, but I think like weather apart from like the weather in Canada, like I think actually someone said this in an interview. I think it was one of the prime ministers said this, how Canada has become kind of an incubator for showing the world that all the cultures can live among each other.
Yeah.
Right? And I was like, that is like the perfect description for this country. Like, because like, I mean, like, sure, there's still people with certain biases and stuff, but like, they're a lot older and they're not really going to be around that much longer anyway. I mean, let's be real. But like, I always find the amount of acceptance in this country to be like, like all the other countries in the world, like some of them aren't anywhere near like this. Are you looking at the time?
I'm looking at the time because I'm like I feel like we haven't been here long.
I know it's
it's going so fast.
It's
like I'm just making sure we're gonna meet our time.
We've only been here like 5 minutes.
That's what it feels like.
I don't know why that happens every time. And there are people like, we'll be like, oh, it's time, but we're not done yet.
They're just like, I have another story, or like we start wrapping up, and that wrap up extends to another like 5 minutes.
It's a quick side story, quick anecdotal. What would you say was the most interesting thing you experienced coming into Canada? Like after you got here and you were settled, like what was one of the most like interesting or strange things you experienced that you had never lived before? Like apart from the weather and all that.
Yeah, weather, all those language things are minor. I think the major thing was the way I started experience discrimination and racism in high school, because back home everybody looked same, right? Yeah. Back home we were all refugee.
Yeah.
So I relate to everyone. And coming to Canada here in high school, first thing I was categorized in a certain way.
Yeah.
Oh, so you're visible minority, you're refugee status, and then you're low income.
Yeah.
You're living in this community. So I given that tag to me.
Yeah.
It was something that's I never experienced in my life.
For sure. Yeah.
And which is like kind of negative side, but I try to use that experience to educate other people.
For sure.
So a lot of people, like new people, other people, they don't experience the same thing. And that was something that I never thought of. I thought the language or medical or the way they're gonna be the toughest one.
Yeah.
But I started getting different.
It's emotional.
Yeah.
It's emotional. Like I was telling you, like I lived that being born here.
Yeah.
But his generation,
we're so accepting.
Oh my! His friend group
is so diverse.
It's so diverse. Like I'm like I can't wait for you guys to be adults in the world. Like it is gonna change this country, like to no return. Like it is. I find it so interesting. Like there are people from all over, and like just watching them talk and hang out.
Like there's no like categorized race. We're just all friends. We're like brothers with each other, you know?
Yeah.
We're just like and if we don't like, we intentionally go looking for other race to expand our group because we're so welcoming with everyone.
Is it like we've had another one of his friends on? So this is like the contrast. So he has a friend who will be on actually next week. Teaser. Yeah. His name's Thomas. He's from Canada. He's white, blue. You know, like the prototype Canadian.
Yeah.
Hockey player. You know, like prototype Canadian. And then he has another friend who he was also on the podcast. His name's Sir Paula.
Yeah.
He is actually part of the Karen community, which you know you've heard of, I'm sure.
Yeah.
Also a refugee camp. And they're just like the three, like watching them interact is just like
three different worlds.
Like, this is how I wish my high school life was like. Like, this is not what it was like when I was in high school. To no avail.
Yeah. What I learned was, even though I was experiencing those kind of discrimination, racism in high school or in the community, I learned from my elders that try to preserve and showcase your culture. And try to educate instead of, you know, keeping everything inside. Yeah. So I would start taking my home food to the cafeteria. And I would start speaking my language to others, try to, you know, teach them. I would start in a cultural event that we organize in high school. I would highly encourage a lot of my colleagues to start, you know, sewing.
Actually, in my school, in my school, we have a full on like night for multiculturalism, right? We make a giant potluck. People bring food from where they're from, right? So like different like foods that people have never seen before, and then we have a show where people get the chance to show their the dance from their culture, get to tell stories from their country. They even do like a fashion show of what they would wear in their country, right? And like we have like this entire thing for that.
That's amazing. Yeah, that's something that I learned in my high school too, you know, to organize those kind of events. So we learn from each other.
Exactly.
And I feel a bit more comfortable than I had to like integrate in a society or assimilate in a society. Try to start learning hockey that I'm not used to. Yeah. You know, celebrating festivals that people celebrate here that I never heard of, right? So I started celebrating my own festival. So people ask me, oh, what is that? I'm like, I start educating them. So I felt sense of belonging that way.
That's the thing. It was I think Canada is just that's what's so interesting about Canada. Yeah. You know, like people are like, oh, you need to assimilate, but it's not really like that. The country assimilates to you, right? As an individual, right? You take what you want from it, kind of thing. It's like I want this, but I don't want that. Like it's kind of like a pick and choose sort of thing. Which I think is really funny. But at the same time, you're like, you can go and do whatever you want, really. Like, you know, like, what was that, like, that culture thing you said you guys do in your community? Yo, man, I hope I get an invite for that.
Of course,
Because let's be real, I'm just going to go eat food, because that's really what it's all about.
And make sure I also receive an invitation.
Definitely.
Yeah, I'm all for that stuff, honestly. Like, what is it? There was this
actually for like I'm not a part of like organizing that stuff or like helping out with that because that's like student council job.
Right.
But like teachers will be like, hey, you want to come to this? And I'll be like, sure. And then I end up helping. Like they're just like, hey, can you record this dance for us? We're gonna upload it to like the school Instagram, or we're gonna put it on our website. You know, and like we spread it through social media platform. We use that as well to like inform people of other cultures and stuff like that. You know, we're a diverse high school.
Oh yeah, we're running close to our time.
You were gonna say something?
No, that's what I was gonna say because I just looked at it because I felt like he was gonna say something. It's like, oh, I'm like just worried. But if you want to say something else, like go for it.
No, I just wanted to say, back in high school when I was dancing and teaching dance to other and performing in an event, I used to teach Nepali and Bollywood. So in high school, in our program, we perform that, and then I started learning different kind of dance. So danto from Somalia, right? T.L.B.P from Arab countries. I started learning that. So it's a really good experience.
Oh, for sure, yeah. Like I remember when I was actually not in high school, in elementary school, we had this lady. I can't remember her name. She came in. And she did this workshop with, I think, only 12 or 15 students that were artistically adept.
Artistically what?
Adapt? I think it's adept. Who are like just inclined.
Yeah,
inclined is the right word.
Inclined.
They're artistically inclined. So like drawing, art, dance, music, singing, whatever, it falls under music.
Yeah.
Okay, so the arts, it was really interesting. And like there was people from like all over, and I played the saxophone at the time, so I still do. But like I was more musically inclined at the time, and they invited me to this thing, and I was like, it was a whole day thing, and then I was like, okay, and then my parents signed this form or whatever. But in this workshop, they taught like all these different, like showed different like musical styles from like all these from all these different countries, from Africa, from Russia to like India to like I don't know, like there was this one tribal song from this native community in Australia, like just so like out of the left field type thing. But it was also like a very big eye opener for me at the time, because I was like, then they hit on like Spanish music, and I mean Spanish music I feel is designed to make you want to dance. Of course, you know, it's there's just something about it.
Like you just hear the beat and you just want to start moving.
Yeah, and other cultures have too. Like there's some Indian songs too that like. You're like, yo, man, this is gonna be a banger. Like, as soon as the beat drops, you're like, oh, I know where this is going. You're like, there's this innate connection to it that I find is so rich and pure. Yeah. But at the same time, it's like, I went through that, and then when I walked out of that, I had a conversation with the lady running the artist. I'm like, this is the coolest thing I've ever lived in my life. And she goes, really? I'm like, yeah. I'm like, this needs to happen more. And at the time, I was like 12 or 13 years old. Mm-hmm. And she goes, yeah. She's like, we're working on getting more funding. And then I never heard of her again. So I don't think they got it.
Well, there's a lot more groups now that do that. Yeah. You know, so I think they did, and people saw that it was working, and other organizations and other groups started forming, right?
Yeah, probably. I don't know. But like I like things like that help educate as opposed to help discriminate, like create barriers or create walls. I think it's good for us. Yeah. In the long run. So, I think we should wrap up.
Okay, guys. This has been Two Latin Brothers Podcast. You guys can go down to the description. Everything's always below. You know, leave us some comments on Anchor. You can leave a voice message. You guys can DM us on our Instagram. You know, leave some questions if you have topics you guys want to hear our input on for some weird reason. You know, you can always do that. If you'd like to shout yourself out on any platform or anything like that.
Well, yeah, thank you very much for inviting, and it's been a great experience.
For sure, yeah. I'll link your community website so you guys can see what he's been up to. Yeah. And also, there's like, just for more information, I guess, you can see what he's really up to, because I don't think we did it enough justice as it really deserves. And like, but it was like 50 minutes is not enough time to cover all of it. Yeah. But it was good having you on. You are our third last guest. Before our end of the year. Next week will be our last episode of the year. Yeah. And we will have done this for a full year. So thanks for being on.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
We'll catch you guys on the next one. Bye.
Okay, bye, guys.
Bye.